One of the things that anthropology teaches is that culture is not trivial. It's not decorative. It's fundamentally a body of ethical and moral values that we place around the individual, both to keep at bay the barbaric heart that history shows us lies beneath the surface of all of us and of all cultures, but also it's culture that allows us kind of to make sense out of sensation, to find order and meaning in the universe, to always seek the better angels of our nature. So the loss of culture and this kind of ejection of an individual from the constraints of tradition into an uncertain world, often a world of disaffection, disillusion, uncertainty, is not an inherently stable phenomena from a geopolitical point of view. And then the question as to why should it matter to someone in Canada if some distant tribe in Africa slips away from history? Well, it probably doesn't matter to someone living in Montreal if the Rendili in Kenya become acculturated or lose their sense of selves, become annihilated, to have their dreams disappear. But on the other hand, it probably doesn't matter to the same person in Kenya amongst the Rendili if Montreal disappears. But I would argue that the world would be a more impoverished place were either event to occur. Most people will never see a Monet painting on the wall of a museum. Most people will never hear a Mozart symphony performed by a fine orchestra. But does that mean that the fact that these great artists lived was irrelevant? No. Every culture, what we forget is that we think of ourselves as not a culture, but as a real world. And these other cultures somehow are failed attempts to be us, or failed attempts at modernity, destined to fade away as if by natural law, quaint and colorful, but somehow they've missed the train of history. Nothing could be further from the truth. First of all, we are a culture, and the values that we express are not values that exist outside of time, but they're culturally rooted. And whether it's our economic system, our set of values, our beliefs, our religion or lack of religion, this is all this thing that we call culture. And we forget that these other peoples of the world represent unique and wondrous branches of the family tree of knowledge. One of the really great revelations of modern science comes from genetics, where finally the geneticists have, by looking deep into the human genome, have shown it to be true, something that philosophers have always thought to be true, which is that we're all cut from the same genetic cloth. We're all brothers and sisters in that sense. And the race is a fiction. The human genome is a single continuum. And the genetic endowment of humanity is a continuum. And the great corollary of that is therefore, if we all share the same genetic endowment, by definition we all share the same kind of raw intelligence. They're all same kind of intellectual capacity, spiritual capacity. Therefore, how a people choose to use that genius is simply a matter of choice. We've measured success by technological wizardry, but that's only one criterion of success. When you begin to look at other criterion, such as an ability to live sustainably in a ongoing way over centuries, or whether it's for deep and subtle intuitions about the nature of being alive, or even social relations amongst the community, other societies have plenty to teach us. Similarly, in the realm of cultures and languages are disappearing at such a rate, they have no time to leave descendants. And this idea that they're destined to fade away is simply wrong. This idea that these societies are sort of quaint and colorful, but failed attempts at being modern and therefore destined to slip away is simply not the case. In every instance, you can see that these are dynamic, living peoples being driven out of existence by clearly identifiable forces.